The invisible artist, the espresso machine hissed as Juno Reeves perfected another latte, her fingers steady despite the morning rush at Moonbeam Cafe. Steam curled around her face, momentarily obscuring the freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks. At 26, Juno was older than most of her co-workers, a fact that occasionally surfaced in conversation when others discussed their college classes or weekend plans. "Order for table 7, she called out, placing the ceramic mug on the counter. Through the viewfinder of her imagination, she framed the scene, the rich caramel color of the coffee against the blue ceramic, the perfect spiral of foam adorned with a delicate leaf pattern. If only she had her camera. Photography was Juno's passion, her escape from double shifts and customer complaints. Her small apartment walls were covered with her photographs, urban landscapes, intimate portraits of strangers who'd consented to her lens, the changing seasons captured in Seattle's hidden corners. But passion didn't pay the bills, and her vintage Nikon had been gathering dust lately as she picked up extra shifts to cover her sister's medical expenses. The bell above the door chimed, and Juno glanced up to see him enter, Marcus Westfield, founder of Prism Technologies. The tech executive had been coming to Moonbeam for precisely 6 weeks, always arriving at 8:45 a.m., always choosing the corner table beside the window, always ordering the same thing, a double espresso and nothing else. "Good morning," Juno said, the greeting automatic, though she knew it would go unacknowledged. Marcus barely looked up from his phone, his fingers tapping against the screen with practiced precision. At 34, he carried the weight of his success in the straight line of his shoulders and the permanent furrow between his brows. His company had revolutionized augmented reality technology, and rumor had it that their newest product would change the way people experienced art and entertainment forever. "Double espresso for Marcus," Juno announced several minutes later, placing the drink before him. Today, she'd added something extra, a small card tucked under the saucer. On it, she'd placed one of her photographs, a miniature print of the Seattle skyline at dawn, colors bleeding across the horizon in watercolor hues. Marcus didn't notice. He reached for the cup, took a sip, and continued working, the card remaining untouched beneath the saucer. Juno returned to the counter, swallowing her disappointment. It wasn't about him specifically. She'd simply hoped someone might appreciate her work. Her manager, Derek, patted her shoulder sympathetically. "Don't take it personally, Junebug. These tech types, they live in another world." "I know," she replied, forcing a smile. "It's fine." The morning progressed with its familiar rhythm, the clatter of dishes, the hum of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter. Juno moved through it all with practiced efficiency, her mind drifting to the photography contest deadline approaching next week. The grand prize included a gallery showcase, a dream that seemed as distant as the stars. When Marcus finally left, leaving behind his customary generous tip but nothing else, Juno cleared his table. The card with her photograph remained untouched, now stained with a ring of coffee. She slipped it into her pocket, a small reminder of invisible efforts. What Juno couldn't know was that Marcus Westfield had barely seen anything that morning. Not her, not the cafe, not even the coffee he'd consumed. His company was on the verge of either a breakthrough or a breakdown, with investors threatening to pull out if the next product launch wasn't perfect. His mind was occupied with algorithms and projections, not the woman who served him coffee or the quiet beauty she created in her spare time. As Juno finished her shift and headed toward her second job at a local bookstore, she paused to photograph a patch of wildflowers growing through a crack in the concrete sidewalk. Resilience in unexpected places always captured her attention. Perhaps that's what kept her going, the belief that beauty could emerge from overlooked corners, that significance wasn't determined by recognition. Meanwhile, across the city, Marcus entered a sleek glass building, unaware that the paths of their lives would soon intersect in ways neither could imagine. The unexpected catalyst, the notice came on a Tuesday, printed on crisp white paper with the Moonbeam Cafe logo at the top. Due to unforeseen circumstances, it read, "We regret to inform you that Moonbeam Cafe will be closing permanently at the end of the month." Juno stood in the break room, the paper trembling slightly in her hands. Around her, co-workers reacted with varying degrees of shock and resignation. Derek looked devastated, his normally cheerful face drawn with worry lines. "Corporate buyout," he explained, voice low. "Some investment firm wants to turn this whole block into luxury apartments." That evening, as rain pattered against her apartment windows, Juno calculated and recalculated her finances. Without the cafe income, she would struggle to make rent, let alone help with her sister Olivia's ongoing treatment for lupus. The bookstore job alone wouldn't cover it. She glanced at her camera, sitting on the shelf beside a stack of photography books, resources she'd collected over years of dreaming. Maybe it's time to stop dreaming and be practical, she murmured to herself, scrolling through job listings on her laptop. The following morning, Juno arrived at work to find Marcus Westfield already at his usual table, earlier than his standard time. Something about him seemed different. The rigid set of his shoulders had softened, and for once, his phone remained in his pocket. When she approached to take his order, he actually looked up. "Good morning," he said, the greeting so unexpected that Juno nearly dropped her notepad. "Good morning," she replied, recovering quickly. "The usual?" Marcus nodded, then hesitated. "I heard about the cafe closing. It's unfortunate." Juno blinked in surprise. "Yes, it is. We were just informed yesterday. This place has been part of my morning routine for months." He glanced around the cafe with what appeared to be genuine regret. "I suppose I'll need to find somewhere new." "There's a place 3 blocks east that makes decent espresso," Juno offered, unsure why she was helping him find a replacement for Moonbeam. Something close to a smile flickered across his face. "I'll keep that in mind." When she returned with his espresso, Marcus was examining something on the table. The photograph she'd left weeks ago, now slightly worn at the edges. He must have found it tucked beneath the table's condiment holder where she'd eventually placed it. "Did you take this?" he asked, holding up the small print. Heat rose to Juno's cheeks. "Yes, photography is a hobby of mine. It's excellent work," he said, studying the image more closely. "The composition, the light quality, very professional." "Thank you," she replied, genuinely touched by the unexpected compliment. "Do you have a portfolio?" The question caught her off guard. "I have some work online, but nothing formal." Marcus reached into his jacket, producing a business card. "My company is launching a new augmented reality platform for visual artists. We're looking for original photography to showcase the technology's capabilities." He placed the card on the table. "If you're interested, send me a link to your work." Juno took the card, certain this was either a dream or some elaborate prank. "I will, thank you." Later that night, after her shift at the bookstore, Juno stayed up until 3 in the morning curating her best photographs and uploading them to a proper portfolio site. With trembling fingers, she composed an email to the address on Marcus's card, attached her portfolio link, and pressed send before she could talk herself out of it. What followed changed everything. Not only did Marcus's team select her work, but they offered her a substantial payment for licensing rights. The sum was enough to cover 3 months of rent and contribute to Olivia's medical fund. More importantly, it gave Juno the confidence to submit her work to local galleries and publications. 6 months after Moonbeam Cafe closed its doors, Juno found herself fully employed as a freelance photographer. Her images of Seattle's overlooked corners, the spaces between skyscrapers where light created unexpected patterns, the reflections in puddles that transformed ordinary streets into dreamscapes, resonated with people. A local arts magazine featured her in their Emerging Artists section. A small gallery in Pioneer Square exhibited her urban landscape series. And Marcus Westfield? He'd vanished from her life as quickly as he'd entered it. After their business transaction concluded, communication ceased. Occasionally, Juno would see his name in technology news or glimpse his company's advertisements featuring her photographs transformed through their augmented reality platform. She'd sent a thank you email after receiving payment, but his response had been brief and professional, clearly the end of their interaction. Life continued its forward momentum. Juno moved to a slightly larger apartment with better natural light. Olivia's condition stabilized with new medication. The photography that had once been relegated to early mornings and late nights now filled Juno's days, each assignment building her portfolio and reputation. On a crisp autumn evening, as golden hour bathed the city in warm light, Juno received an email that would once again alter her trajectory. The Seattle Arts Commission was organizing a major exhibition titled Perspectives, Seeing the Unseen. They wanted her as one of the featured photographers. The exhibition would be held at the prestigious Hammond Gallery, the same gallery that had rejected her work just a year earlier. And according to the email, the opening night would include a technology showcase from none other than Prism Technologies. Juno stood at her apartment window, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors no camera could fully capture. Somewhere in this city was Marcus Westfield, the man who had inadvertently changed her life with a single business card. In 6 weeks, their paths would cross again, this time on equal footing. Worlds collide. The Hammond Gallery gleamed under strategic lighting, its white walls transformed into canvases for projected images and suspended photographs. Juno's collection occupied the East Wing, 12 large-format prints capturing Seattle's dichotomy of natural beauty and urban development. In her floor-length midnight blue dress, she felt simultaneously like an imposter and exactly where she belonged. "These are extraordinary," commented an older woman wearing elaborate silver jewelry. "The way you've captured light reflecting off the buildings. Almost like they're communicating with each other. It's quite moving." Juno thanked her, still adjusting to receiving praise face-to-face rather than through email or comments on her website. The exhibition opening had drawn Seattle's art community in full force, along with technology enthusiasts eager to experience Prism Technologies' new augmented reality installation. She hadn't seen Marcus yet, though she'd spotted several people wearing Prism Technologies badges. Part of her wondered if he even remembered her. Their connection had been brief after all, and someone in his position likely encountered hundreds of people monthly. "Ms. Reeves?" A gallery assistant approached. "The director would like you to join the other featured artists for the technology demonstration in the Central Hall." Juno followed her through the crowd, heart quickening as they approached the gallery's rotunda. A circular platform had been constructed in the center, surrounded by attendees holding specialized viewing devices, Prism's new AR glasses. Above the platform, a holographic display showed the company's logo rotating slowly, and there, standing beside the gallery director, was Marcus Westfield. He'd changed subtly in the months since she'd last seen him. His dark hair was shorter, his face less strained. The expensive suit he wore seemed less like armor and more like appropriate attire. When his gaze swept the approaching group of artists and landed on her, Juno witnessed the moment of recognition, the slight widening of his eyes, the pause in his conversation. "Our featured photographers and visual artists," announced the director, gesturing to Juno and 4 others. "Their work has been enhanced through Prism's revolutionary technology to create an immersive experience unlike anything previously possible." Juno took her place among the other artists, acutely aware of Marcus watching her. When the formal introductions began, she heard her former barista status conspicuously, absent from her biography, replaced by emerging visual artist and unique urban perspective. Her identity had transformed. As completely as her circumstances, the demonstration proceeded, with attendees donning the AR glasses and experiencing artwork in 3 dimensions, able to step into photographs and explore them from within. When one of Juno's pieces, a dawn shot of Pike Place Market, appeared in the holographic display, gasps rippled through the crowd as the still image came to life. Morning light moving across produce stands as vendors set up for the day. "The technology captures not just what the artist saw," Marcus explained to the audience, his voice confident and engaged, "but what they felt. We've analyzed the emotional components of each piece and translated them into sensory experiences." After the presentation, as the crowd dispersed to explore individual exhibits, Juno found herself face-to-face with Marcus in a momentarily empty corner of the rotunda. "Juno," he said, her name sounding strange in his voice after so long. "Your work is the highlight of the exhibition." "Thank you," she replied, searching his face for any hint of condescension or false praise. She found none. Your technology is remarkable. I never imagined seeing my photographs this way. I knew your work was special from that first small print, he said, though I admit I didn't fully appreciate it, or you, at the time. The honesty in his statement surprised her. You were preoccupied. Running a tech empire will do that. A genuine smile crossed his face. An empire on the verge of collapse, actually. The morning you gave me your business card, I just learned our primary investor was pulling out. Your photograph. Something about it made me pause. Reconsider our approach. Juno raised an eyebrow. Are you saying my little skyline photo saved your company? I'm saying it reminded me why I started this company in the first place, to help people see beauty differently. He gestured toward the exhibition around them. And look where we are now. Their conversation was interrupted by a gallery patron seeking Marcus's attention. Before moving away, he leaned slightly closer to Juno. I'd like to discuss a potential collaboration with you if you're interested. My team is developing an environmental awareness campaign using augmented reality. Your perspective would be invaluable. Juno considered his offer, weighing professional opportunity against the complicated feelings his presence stirred. I'll think about it, she finally said. Perfect. My number is the same. With that, he rejoined the crowd, leaving Juno to contemplate how completely their dynamics had shifted. Later that evening, as the exhibition wound down, Juno stood before her favorite photograph, a simple image of an elderly couple sharing an umbrella on a rain-soaked street. Through Prism's technology, viewers could feel the gentle patter of raindrops and hear the soft murmur of conversation between the couple. It was intimacy captured and enhanced, yet still preserving the essential privacy of the moment. It's beautiful, came Marcus's voice from beside her. How you see people. It's what my technology has been missing. Juno turned to him, suddenly understanding what this night truly represented. Technology without humanity is just machinery, she said. And art without viewers is just personal expression. Maybe we need each other. The statement hung between them, laden with possibilities neither had anticipated when a barista had served coffee to a distracted entrepreneur just 1 year earlier. Reluctant partners, the environmental campaign headquarters occupied a renovated warehouse in the Sodo district, its interior a contradiction of exposed industrial elements and cutting-edge technology. Juno arrived for her first day as creative consultant with equal parts excitement and trepidation. After considering Marcus's offer for nearly a week, she'd finally agreed the project aligned with her values, and the compensation would allow her to focus exclusively on photography for at least a year. Welcome to Project Watershed, announced Vanessa Liu, Prism's project director leading Juno through the open workspace. We're creating an augmented reality experience that lets people visualize the impact of climate change on local ecosystems, then shows how specific conservation efforts can reverse the damage. The team consisted of environmental scientists, software developers, UI designers, and now Juno, their sole photographer. Her role was to capture the affected landscapes in their current state, creating the foundation for the digital projections of future scenarios. Marcus wasn't present for her orientation, something Juno found both disappointing and relieving. Their interaction at the gallery had left her unsettled, aware of an undercurrent between them that went beyond professional respect. Westfield usually arrives around noon, Vanessa explained, as if reading Juno's thoughts. He's personally overseeing this project, which is unusual. Typically, he's more involved with product development than applications. This seems like an expensive undertaking for a purely altruistic cause, Juno observed, examining the state-of-the-art equipment filling the workspace. Vanessa smiled knowingly.
Between us?
This project is his redemption arc. Prism's earlier products were criticized for excessive energy consumption and materialistic applications. Project Watershed is his answer to those criticisms, and to his own conscience, I suspect. The revelation added another dimension to Juno's understanding of Marcus. Perhaps he, like her, was evolving beyond his former self. When he finally arrived, their greeting was professionally cordial, betraying nothing of the charged conversation at the gallery. For the next 3 weeks, they maintained this careful distance, Juno immersing herself in field photography around the Puget Sound region, Marcus coordinating with the technical team to translate her images into interactive experiences. Their first real collision came during a project review. Juno had returned from a dawn shoot at the Skagit River, where she'd captured salmon fighting their way upstream, a powerful visual metaphor for resilience against mounting obstacles. "These are technically flawless," Marcus commented, scrolling through her photographs on the large display screen, "but they're missing something essential." The room fell silent. Challenging Juno's artistic vision had become taboo among the team, who had quickly recognized her talent and sensitivity. "What exactly are they missing?" Juno asked, her voice level despite the flush creeping up her neck. "Human connection," Marcus replied, turning to face her directly. "These show nature's struggle beautifully, but they don't show why humans should care. We need to see ourselves in these images to feel responsible." "That's what your technology is supposed to add," Juno countered. "My job is to capture reality. Yours is to create the emotional bridge." "The bridge has to start somewhere," he insisted. "Without an emotional foundation in the original images, the augmentation feels artificial." Their disagreement escalated into a philosophical debate about art, technology, and environmental activism that continued long after the other team members had discreetly departed. Standing before the wall-sized screen displaying her photographs, Juno and Marcus argued passionately, neither willing to concede. "You hired me for my perspective?" Juno finally said, fatigue evident in her voice. "If you want someone else's vision, find another photographer." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, equally exhausted. "I don't want another photographer. I want you to dig deeper. Show me what made you notice that elderly couple in the rain, or the light between buildings downtown. Show me what you see when you're not just observing, but feeling." His words struck a chord Juno hadn't expected. She gathered her equipment in silence, processing his challenge. "Come with me tomorrow," she said abruptly. 5 a.m. Alki Beach. If you want to understand my process, you should experience it firsthand." The invitation surprised both of them. Marcus hesitated only briefly before nodding. "I'll be there." The following morning, standing on the shoreline as pre-dawn light painted the sky in gradients of indigo and coral, Juno adjusted her camera settings while Marcus clutched a coffee thermos, looking surprisingly ordinary in jeans and a weathered jacket. "Watch the waterline," Juno instructed, pointing toward where waves gently lapped against the sand. "There's a family of sea otters that feeds here at dawn." Sure enough, as the light strengthened, dark shapes appeared in the shallow water. A mother otter and 2 pups, foraging among the rocks. Juno photographed them with practiced precision, then handed the camera to Marcus. "Look through the viewfinder," she said. "Don't take a picture, just observe." Marcus complied, his breath fogging slightly in the cool morning air. "They're beautiful," he murmured. "More detailed than I expected." "Now lower the camera and look at the woman over there," Juno directed, nodding toward an elderly woman who had paused her morning walk to watch the otters. "See her expression? That's the human connection." Understanding dawned in Marcus's eyes. For the next hour, Juno guided him through her process, finding the intersection of natural beauty and human reaction, capturing not just images, but moments of connection between species sharing an increasingly fragile ecosystem. When they finally returned to the car, something had shifted between them. The rigid formality that had defined their professional relationship had softened.